Hello, good morning. As per request, I'm going to respond to a concern or a question as to how to teach Chinese martial arts or any traditional martial arts nowadays. I mean, in the current times that are more owned by jiu-jitsu, mixed martial arts, and some other grappling styles like Greco-Roman wrestling, the other regular wrestling, and I really, I think there's three types different. And then there is another one that is standard wrestling, but nowadays they have some kind of mixed techniques, which is Sambo, which is Russian. And then there is Mongolian wrestling and some other stuff like that. Okay, so here's my take. Remember, this is just my opinion and my experience from seeing other people teaching, from doing it myself, and from gathering advice and recommendations for people that is very experienced in said matter. First of all, I'll give an argument or a reason as to how to promote traditional martial arts. Traditional martial arts, most of them, is a combination of subtopics, substyles. First of all, especially Chinese martial arts. That was the question. But I want to make it general because not everybody in this audience is a practitioner of just traditional martial arts. So here's the thing. Martial arts in general, traditional martial arts have several subtopics. They are weapons, ancient weapons. They have empty hand forms or choreographed movements, namely katas, taolus, and pumses. Also, they have like practice those choreographed methods with a partner, one or two, which is called, well, it used to be called two-man set, now it's partners or whatever, some other names, but it's choreographed, and that's with weapons, empty-handed, with more than one or two weapons at the same time, etc. It's very eye-catching. It's beautiful, actually. So, how to promote into people to practice traditional martial arts? First, I'm going to explain what's my take on practicing traditional martial arts, and then I will move on to Chinese martial arts. And if everybody or anybody is interested in knowing what do I think about other styles, namely Kyokushin, Judo, Muay Thai, boxing, etc., I can move to those ones. And remember, I very rarely teach civilians, so my experience is maybe different from other people that had that experience of teaching civilians in very large schools or whatever. So I have had large group of people, but they're not civilians. And actually, they're very specialized in what they do. So the videos that I seen, the expansion of those wrestling or grappling styles is because they kind of say, hey, this works in a serious confrontation, in a street fight. I can defeat almost everybody with certain knowledge of jiu-jitsu. I can beat up and make a pretzel out of whoever is trying to attack me or something. Or now in a street fight or in a serious confrontation, wrestling is the best style. grappling is the best style. Whether it's jiu-jitsu, wrestling per se, judo, etc. That, in a sense, is true. If it is a one-on-one fight, say that, God forbid, you're attacked by one person out in the streets in a serious fight, you have an advantage if you do certain type of grappling. But that rarely happens. Like I said before in one of my dissertations, usually what happens out in the streets are several things. You're attacked when you're in an environment that is very prone for that particular situation, namely a bar, a restaurant, a club, if you're a clubbing person, at a stadium, if you're a fanatic of football, baseball, whatever, and you happen to be a fan of the other team, so you are exposed. So what are you doing there, first place? Secondly, very rarely you go to a restaurant, a bar, a club, a football or a baseball game by yourself. And I say you, I mean everybody or anybody. So there's always more than one person. You go with your friends, you go with your family, you go with whoever. But it's rarely one person. So chances are that over there you're not going to have a serious confrontation in which you're going to be facing one opponent only. Or you need to be mindful that there are going to be more than one opponent and plan accordingly. That in the first place. Secondly, these are the times where everybody's packing heavy. Everybody's armed. I've lived in New York, New Jersey. In New Jersey, when it was the sixth most dangerous city was Newark. I worked there. The sixth most dangerous city in the United States. And I had to go home by train in the middle of the night. The last train was, I think it was at 2 or something like that, 2 in the morning. And I used to take that train several times. So I've seen a lot of crap. If you're in the military or law enforcement, well, police officers are going to usually they deal with just one person because they always go for backup. That's a different scenarios. They're armed, they have body armors, they have protection, the law protects them, they have immunity, etc., etc. So that's not the case that I'm mentioning here. I'm talking about the average Joe in how he's going to be dealing with a confrontation out in the streets in traditional martial arts. That said, very dangerously, you're going to be wrestling with one person because usually you're going to go to the ground. You're going to be on the floor, just, rolling and embracing somebody and whatever. And like I said, do you think or would you see your brother, your father, your close friend, your wife, your husband, anybody being entangled and losing a fight on the floor, rolling with a person that you don't know and that is committed to hurt you, and you're not going to do anything? Very rarely. Very rarely. So, is it effective for a street fight? I don't think so. No. Again, you may bump into somebody sometimes at the laundry, going to Walmart or any supermarket, and then what's up, and then start a fight. How many times that happens? Secondly, getting into a fight, like a serious confrontation in which you're going to to hurt somebody or somebody's going to hurt you, is a lot of problems, legal problems. And that's everywhere in the world. It happened to me once that I think I already mentioned it, that in Spain, this drunk guy was hitting a woman. So I intervened. It's a long story, so I'm going to make it short. I intervened because the guy was telling her, get in the car, get in the car, get in the car. And then I thought, well, calling the police is not going to be enough. Because if they get in the car, he's going to have enough time to kill her. And the guy was drunk. And all it takes for a guy to kill a woman or kill somebody is just a bad punch. That's all it takes. And I'm not condoning violence, but that's what I thought. I mean, if you're hitting a woman or somebody's hitting a woman out in the streets, if they get in a concealed place, in a hidden place, like a car, what is it that that person is not going to do to that particular woman? So I intervened, and I ended up fighting 3 guys with the girl hitting me and hanging up on my winter jacket. So one of the guys threw me a rock, and I got 9 stitches right here. So do you think that I was going to go on the ground with one of those guys? They have the jewels to crack my head open with a stone. What would they have done if I'm like a python rolling with one of those guys? No, was I so idiotic that I just entangled with 3 guys and started a confrontation with them just to defend this woman? Of course not. You have to be safe first. To do something, you have to be alive. And the less injuries, the better. So the other 2 guys were not there. It was just one. The other 2 guys were away. So if something happens, or the police or whatever, or they decided to start a fist fighting, they were not gonna seem involved. Meaning they will pretend, oh, we have nothing to do. We were over there somewhere. When they saw that this guy was fighting me, fist fighting me, or trying, because I gave them their portion, then they started to intervene. That said, I started fighting one person, and I ended up fighting 4. And let's say that this girl was, they go by kilograms over there in Europe. That happened in Europe. They go by kilograms. So let's say 50 kilograms. She was a kind of medium-sized girl. That's roughly 150 pounds, 140, something like that. So imagine fighting with 140 kilograms on yourself, hanging onto your winter jacket, etc. So more than the anecdote, my point here is how current and how actual and how true it is that you're going to fight one person in a serious confrontation out in the streets, etc. Could be that the chances are very slim. Now, the other situation would be you're getting, God forbid, again, or one person is getting robbed, either burglarized, carjacked, somebody's trying to get in your house. Again, psychology and criminal psychology tells you that very rarely somebody's going to attempt entering your house by themselves unless they think that your house is empty. And what's the percentage of that type of situations happening? There are studies, and you can check them on internet. So that said, when when would be the occasion or the event that is going to grant you fighting with just one person, just one opponent? Not even in the military. You're on a squadron, you're in with your unit or whatever. Who is going to engage with a battle on squadron or any other group by themselves without any weapons? That said, I discard the usefulness of any martial art in out in the streets. That rarely happens. Here, I've been deployed, and I'm going to mention two examples as an example. Then one is Georgia, and one is Florida. Everybody's packing heavy, and they're ready to pull a gun on a traffic, the car traffic incident, and shoot you. There's a video with a guy, this kid just got out of the car and went to the car behind them. Apparently something happened before or whatever. And then this kid just threw like a really crappy punch. I wouldn't even call it that. And he got shot twice. And nothing happened to the guy that shot him because he said, well, I feared my integrity, my physical integrity. So that said, choosing a martial arts for you or your kids because of a street fight or its effectiveness out in a serious confrontation, even if it is true that it's the most effective, it's not the best way to pick it. To pick and choose a martial arts because of that. I will continue not to make this video that long in the next video. All right, so think about this. I don't favor, actually I'm opposed, to be, truth be told. And I've told that to my family members, to my kid. You should not pick a martial art based on the effectiveness in a serious confrontation. There are some other factors, there are some other variables that come into play for that. That's my take in. I'll see you in the next video. Have a nice day.